Welcome to the third tutorial for Prefab Layer Painter. This tutorial will cover terrain texture painting with the Terrain Texture module. Let's start by disabling the tutorial trees layer so we can see the terrain beneath it. This terrain already has textures painted with Unity's built-in terrain system, but we're going to create our own. Click Add Layer and create a new layer rule set named Terrain Textures. Add a Terrain Texture module. First, we need to add our terrain layers. Instead of adding them individually, open Prefab Layer Painter Examples, Tropical Island Assets, and then Materials. Select Poly Grass, Poly Rock, and Poly Sand. Then drag them into the green Drop Terrain Layers Here box. I like to reorder these based on the terrain order, with rock first and sand second. The order doesn't actually matter, it's just a personal preference. Make sure the Prefab Layer Painter game object is selected. If we generate the layer now, it will paint everything as rock because nothing has been painted on the mask. Painting on the mask will make the textures appear, but this process completely replaces any terrain textures previously painted with Unity's terrain system, so keep that in mind while you work. For this example, fill the entire mask white so it affects the whole terrain. The active layer highlight can make the result difficult to see, so open Visualize and turn off Show Overlay. You'll notice some slope and elevation effects. The Terrain Texture module includes default rules, so let's edit them. Use the Edit button or the small icon on the layer to open its rule set. Open the Terrain Texture module and delete the module level slope rule. Regenerate the layer and the slope effects will disappear. We'll add them back on a per-element basis. Start with the grass. Add a slope rule override, adjust its values, and regenerate the layer. We want to keep grass off the steep hills and rocky cliffs where it would be unlikely to grow. Add a slope rule to the sand and set it to roughly the same range, with a slightly different limit. Regenerate the layer and adjust the values until the distribution looks right. Next, move the grass away from the shoreline. Add a height rule to the grass, set its minimum height to 11, and regenerate. We can leave rock in the lower areas near the water. That's all we need for this basic terrain setup, but you can add more layers and as much complexity as you want. For example, you could use height limits to change the type of rock at higher elevations. You can also add a noise rule to make the generated textures look patchier. Turn the vegetation layer back on. The green terrain appears beneath the vegetation, while rock appears near the boulders because both layers use similar slope rules. This is the procedural approach, where we fill the entire mask and let rules such as slope and height control the result. You can also paint textures manually. For example, let's clear an area to represent a road. Subtracting from the existing layer removes the trees and some of the terrain textures. If you want to keep the terrain textures, open the Subtract Layer settings and disable Terrain Texture Subtraction. Regenerate the layer and the grass will return while the trees remain cleared. Now we can paint a road manually. Add a new layer and create a rule set named Road Texture. Add a Terrain Texture module. Add the rock terrain layer and disable its slope rule because we don't need it for the road. Turn the visualization overlay back on and paint the rock texture. The painted area appears red while the visualization is enabled, but the rock texture is underneath it. This layer builds on top of the procedural terrain texture layer and does not react to that layer's procedural changes. Those are the basics of terrain texture painting in Prefab Layer Painter. Procedural generation alone can save many hours of work. In the next tutorial, we'll cover a collection of unique features that will help make your games great.